On May 10th, 2024, one of my favorite YouTubers, Professor Matthew Baker from Useful Charts, released a video titled, How All Modern Popes Share a Common Ancestor. In this video, he explored the various episcopal lineages of the Roman Catholic Church, highlighting key figures and demonstrating how they all connect through the doctrine of Apostolic Succession. As an ecclesiastical history geek, I was hooked. His video even got me wondering if we could trace similar lineages within the Coptic Church. At first, I thought that this would be an easy task. After all, the Coptic Church has a readily available list of all its popes, which is even meant to be recited during the liturgy. A piece of cake, right? But there's a catch. That list jumps from one pope to the next, skipping over the bishops who consecrated them. To the casual observer, it might even seem that the popes were consecrating their own successors, which, as we all know, is not how Episcopal Consecration usually works. Confident that the information was just hidden a little deeper, I dug in. A week of research later, and I had nothing. Other than a few stubs on Wikipedia, there was no complete or official, publicly available episcopal genealogy for the Coptic papacy anywhere online. Now, being a hard-headed Upper Egyptian, I didn't give up. I decided that if such a genealogy didn't exist, I'd create it myself. And with that, what began as a simple video idea snowballed into a year-long, and counting, research project. Rather than leaving this channel to collect dust while I continue digging, however, I decided to turn it into a video series. This first installment serves as an introduction to the premise, methodology, and limitations of this project. So with this in mind, buckle up and enjoy the ride. Before we can build a Coptic episcopal genealogy, we need to define what apostolic succession actually is. Like all traditional churches, the Coptic Orthodox Church holds fast to the doctrine of apostolic succession, the idea that modern bishops inherit their spiritual authority in an unbroken chain from Christ himself through the apostles. This authority was given by Christ after his resurrection, as seen in the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 21 through 23. The apostles, in turn, conferred this authority on their successors within the church through the laying on of hands. This practice is both scripturally attested in the New Testament and affirmed by the writings of the early church fathers. Through this continuous line of consecration, the church maintains an unbroken chain of episcopal authority from the time of Christ to the present day. As with all apostolic churches, the Coptic Church adheres to an episcopal polity. In such polity, the hierarchy of the church is divided into three unique priestly orders, that is, bishops, priests, and deacons, all being biblically based. Each one of these orders is further subdivided into subsidiary roles, which, while differing in gift and honor, are nonetheless equal in rank. Within the Coptic Church, the rank of bishop is subdivided into three such subsidiary roles: the role of bishop, which will be represented in the graphics by the color blue, the role of Metropolitan, represented by the color maroon, and the role of Pope or Patriarch, which will be represented by the color gold. Now, let's take a deeper look at each of these titles. The first role, that of the bishop, was established by the apostles, as we mentioned previously. The New Testament makes it clear that the bishop held the same dignity as the apostles in the early church, being charged with ordaining priests and supervising their ministry. This hierarchical structure is also echoed by the early church fathers. In line with the doctrine of apostolic succession, the general tradition observed has always been for a bishop to be consecrated by other bishops. However, in early Egyptian Christianity, a unique tradition may have existed. Due to the absence of other bishops in Egypt until the time of Pope Demetrius, it is suggested, especially by St. Jerome, that the presbyters of Alexandria may have consecrated their bishop themselves through the laying on of hands. This tradition, if it did indeed exist, probably did not survive the proliferation of bishops in Egypt that occurred during the reign of Pope Demetrius. By the early 4th century, the Canons of Nicaea were issued, regulating the standards for episcopal consecration across the known world and ensuring that all future bishops were consecrated by at least 3 other bishops. The Canons of Nicaea also formalized the role of the Metropolitan, a senior bishop presiding over a major city and its surrounding region, sometimes overseeing other bishops with less prominent sees. This role was historically significant within the Coptic Church, which had several established metropolitan sees served by metropolitan bishops. The bishops of those sees were typically consecrated as bishops and then elevated immediately to the rank of metropolitan on the same day. In modern times, however, the rank of Metropolitan has become largely honorific, granted by the Pope to certain bishops in recognition of their distinguished service. A prominent example of the current system of elevation is His Eminence Metropolitan Serapion of Los Angeles, Southern California, and Hawaii. He was originally consecrated as a general bishop by Pope Shenouda III in 1985 and was then enthroned as Bishop of Los Angeles in 1995. He was later elevated to the dignity of Metropolitan by Pope Tawadros II in 2016 in recognition of his over 30 years of service. The one exception to the current system of elevation is the See of Jerusalem, which retains its historical and canonical distinction of always being led by a Metropolitan bishop. Accordingly, the current bishop, His Eminence Metropolitan Antonios, was elevated to the rank of Metropolitan on the same day as his Episcopal Consecration. The last bishop to be appointed immediately as Metropolitan for a see other than Jerusalem was His Eminence Metropolitan Mina of Girga, while the last surviving bishop to be immediately appointed Metropolitan was His Eminence Metropolitan Mikhail of Asyut. Finally, let us discuss the rank of Pope or Patriarch. Though now globally associated with the Roman Catholic Church, the title Pope is actually of Alexandrian origin. This title is derived from the Greek word papas, which is a diminutive form of father, akin to saying dad in modern English. The precise origin of its ecclesiastical use is debated. Some suggest it was once a general term used for all bishops and priests, while others propose that it was originally the title of the dean of the School of Alexandria. What is certain, however, is that by the early 3rd century, the title had become closely linked with the Bishop of Alexandria, reflecting the deep affection and reverence the clergy and laity held for their spiritual father. Its earliest documented usage comes from a letter written by Pope Dionysius, in which he refers to his predecessor as Pope Heracles. As Christianity spread throughout the rest of Egypt and other bishops were ordained, the Bishop of Alexandria retained primacy due to Alexandria's role as the center of Christian teaching and the origin point of Christian preaching. This primacy was canonically affirmed by the First Council of Nicaea, which acknowledged the Pope of Alexandria's extended jurisdiction over Egypt, Libya, Pentapolis, and the surrounding regions. In the 4th century, the title Pope was later adopted by the Roman Church for its own patriarch, long after its established use by the Alexandrians. While the roles of bishop, metropolitan, and pope differ in dignity, they are all equal in sacramental authority. All bishops are successors of the apostles and participate equally in the governance of the church. Within the Coptic Church, they collectively form the Holy Synod, which is the highest ecclesiastical authority, charged with safeguarding doctrine, discipline, and tradition. The Pope presides over the Synod as first among equals, but wields no special executive powers. Since the Pope of Alexandria is given primacy over the other bishops in his jurisdiction, it is rare that any ordination of bishops ever occurs within the Coptic Church in which he is not the presiding bishop. Similarly, following the Pope's death, the most senior bishop is the one tasked with presiding over the election and consecration of the next pope. This means that unlike the Roman Catholic Apostolic Succession, which forks into several lineages, the Coptic Orthodox Apostolic Succession, barring special occurrences, tends to follow a fairly linear and singular chain of succession, alternating predictably between popes and bishops. As I mentioned at the start of this video, I've undertaken this study out of a personal desire to weave a historical narrative of church history through a reconstructed chain of apostolic succession. The results I share should not be viewed as definitive or authoritative, but rather as preliminary research into a field that appears to be significantly underexplored. I should also clarify that as an independent researcher living in the diaspora, I did not have access to the primary consecration records preserved in the papal archives in Cairo. Instead, this project relies on the published works of researchers who were blessed with access to those archives. As a result, some gaps in the data are unavoidable. To account for this, dashed lines will be used in the visuals to indicate presumed consecration relationships, while solid lines will represent relationships explicitly confirmed in the sources. With all this in mind, I hope you will enjoy watching these videos as much as I enjoy researching and producing them. As always, I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more Orthodox content like this. If you have any comments, suggestions, or corrections, please leave them in the comment section below. Until next time, Ogay Chinep Choice.